What's up, guys? Deck tech time. Or well, more. I'm gonna fishbowl, and then we'll talk about the deck. Heliod, Sun Crowned. This general, by far, is my favorite mono white general. It's really powerful, and you can win on the spot with a combo. So, what is Heliod? Heliod is a legendary enchantment creature. He's God for 3 mana, 1 white and 2 colorless. It's a 5/5. Okay, it's not bad. He's indestructible, even better. So as long as your devotion to white is less than 5, he's not a creature. He's an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/1, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. Okay. For 1 white, 1 colorless, another target creature gains lifelink until the end of turn. All right. So the idea is you're going to gain life. You're going to win. The win con in the deck. Now, let's talk about that quickly. You either got Triskelion or where is he? Walking Ballista. Those are the win cons in the deck. Now, in my particular deck, I don't have. I think I'm missing a couple of cards that get to Triskelion and Walking Ballista, which is neither here nor there. I can still get to it. I still have ways to tutor. But there are two more cards, I believe, a Ranger of Eos or something like that. I can't remember the name to get to these. So I can get to this faster. You can certainly look to improving this deck. I didn't build it in a way that just focuses on getting to these win cons. So for those that don't know, basically been living under a rock, Walking Ballista wins you the game as long as you can give it lifelink. You need 6 mana, so 4 to put 2 counters on the Ballista and 2 to give it lifelink, and then it goes off infinitely. And Triskelion requires 8. Again, you give it lifelink, it goes off. You deal a point of damage, gain a life, put a counter back on, and just keep doing it. So that's the win con. So you could just win on the spot by resolving this, playing, giving it lifelink and winning. Again, it 6 mana, and you have to be careful with interactions. You're playing mono white, so really you don't have much in the way of protecting yourself. There are 2 ways. So here's one way: Grand Abolisher, and where's good old Silence? Is the other way. So what I would... Oh, no, there's the Ranger of Eos. No, I lied. I have the Ranger of Eos. It's the other one. It's one similar to this. Anyways, you tutor up either one of these. Where's the Silence? Where's my Silence? Where are you? Where are you? Come on now. It's in the deck. I know. I played it last night and I used it. There we go. So what I'd like to do is, before I go for this, I'll like to have a Grand Arbiter on board or a Silence in my hand. So at the beginning of my turn, if I have Grand Abolisher in play, then my opponents can't cast spell. I can kind of freely go ahead and cast these 2 for the win. Or I'll play a Silence. I did that last night. So at the beginning of my turn, wait till you draw, because in case people have interactions for your board state, you want to be able to tap your mana and keep it. After my draw, Silence. My opponents can't cast spells. Resolve a win con. And that's it. So let's fishbowl this deck a little bit before we talk about it in its totality. What I will say is I love the deck. I have a lot of fun with it. I built it to be a little more aggressive with creatures. So maybe more creatures than some people would like in Heliod. I wanted to be able to play multiplayer game and just gain life and put in a lot of creatures and swing for a lot of damage. And I think I managed to make it so that every creature I present is going to warrant some state of removal, right? Oh, look at this. Wow. And one more. All right, 2 lands and a Soul Ring. That's a keep, right? So we have Smothering Tithe here. Oblivion Ring for removal, 8.5 tails to give me some devotion and some protection. Let's keep this. So I would draw. Ooh, a Soul's Attendant. Yeah, I think I would do this. So play a land, tap a land, play a Soul's Attendant. Soul's Attendant says whenever another creature enters the battlefield, I can gain a life. Well, he gives me +1/+1 counters on creatures, and that can get out of hand really quick. If you're in a meta that plays creature based aggro strategies, this on turn 1 is fantastic, because every time a creature comes out, you're gaining life and you're putting counters on your creatures. So on turn 2, I would untap Benelish Marshal. That's pretty good. I'd play a Plains, play a Soul Ring, tap Soul Ring, and my other Plains for Heliod. Now, Heliod's still not a creature's enchantment, but look at that. Turn 2, I have a Soul's Attendant. You know, if let's say by the time my next turn comes around, 2 creatures entered play, I'd have 2 counters on my Soul's Attendant, and my life would be up by 2. And my options are like really limitless at that point, right? So this is turn 3. I have a 3/3, hypothetically speaking. I have a 3/3 Heliod and 4 mana on turn 3. Codex Shredder to return things from my yard. So in this spot, without seeing or knowing any other information, I would play a Smothering Tithe to get ahead on mana. But I could play a Nevermore and name a commander that's bothering me or that I don't want to deal with. I can remove something, or I can go ahead and play 8.5 tails. Now, if I had another white, I could play Benelish Marshal. That would give me devotion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Heliod would be online. I can swing. I can also just not do any of this stuff and give my my creature lifelink, gain 3 life, and put another counter on, right? So that's not bad. It's not a bad start. Let's try to fish bowl again. Anyway, Heliod is a lot of fun. If you're playing any white deck, I would consider putting him in. He can give your creatures lifelink, and gaining life in Commander is such a good commodity. It's nice to be able to do, and on an indestructible enchantment, it's not a bad thing, especially if you have tons of creatures. Now, if you're not running any creatures, I would not recommend putting Heliod in your deck, but I'm actually considering running or doing a black-white general. I don't know who I should build, but Vito and Heliod would be definitely adds in that deck. Okay, well, let's look. All right. So one more. This is a much slower hand, but it has action. Transcendent Master can eventually become a 9/9 indestructible lifelinker. And this is the kind of deck that I built. I put a lot of creatures, so I wanted to put a creature in that every time it was in, people would look to it and say, hey, you know, I got to remove it. Now, why do I want people to remove my creatures? Well, so that they waste their removable spells and get this off the board. Anyways, so that I can follow up with some other creatures. So that's 7. I would go ahead, draw a card, assume we're playing. Oh, look at that. That is a great pull. Jeweled Lotus. For those of you who don't think it's a busted card, it's a powerful card. I don't think it's necessarily busted, but it's very powerful. Because on turn 1, I'm going to crack this and play Heliod. My opponent's going to shed a tear. Right? Turn 2, I still haven't tapped the mana. Turn 2, play a Plains. I don't have much there. Oblation is a good card. It's removal. Instant speed. For those of you that never seen it. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into his or her library, then draws 2 cards. So, this is defensive and offensive. What I mean by that is you can get rid of a trouble permanent on your opponent's side, or you can tuck one of your own. So someone goes, let's say I had, hypothetically speaking, I had 3 mana and this in play. Someone goes to remove it. I can go tuck that into my library, shuffle it, draw 2 cards. So I gain some advantage. It also gets rid of troubled permanents. Usually I save it to get rid of my opponent's permanents that are bothering me. So turn 2, nothing. Turn 3, we're going ahead and we're going to play a Plains. And I'm going to play Transcendent Master. Okay, people usually look at that and go 3/3, meh, whatever. Okay, that's fine. But then on turn 4, draw a card. Ooh, Knight of the White Orchid. This can level me out if I'm short on mana. Somebody's got more mana than me, but I wouldn't do that. What I would do is first I would go ahead and put a level counter on him. Then I'd repeat the process until I would just do it 2 times. That way I can swing in, give it lifelink, gain 3 life, and put another counter on this. Now, you have to track the counters on the creature and in your level counters separately. So we'll keep the level counters down there. But what I've done is essentially presented a threat here for people to remove. It's going to be constant damage, and it'll eventually get really big. But I want them to remove that because I have a follow-up creature. I can play Commander Esha. Is it Esha? Esha, right? It's got protection from creatures, flying, 2/4. That's a fantastic card. Give it lifelink and start putting counters on that. Knight of the White Orchid. It's like a land tax on a creature. If opponent controls more lands than I do, I can go get a Plains and put it onto the battlefield. And then I can put counters on him, and he's got first strike, so that's amazing. First strike and lifelink, and with Heliod is a fantastic, thing. Mangara, the Diplomat. So this is a creature deck. This is to tutor my win con. I wouldn't do that until I had tons of mana. Anyways, so that's fishbowling. I'm gonna, again, the idea of this deck is I'm gonna put creatures down that I'm gonna swing with and put pressure on my opponents and force them to focus on removal. I like to be conservative with my creature drops because I don't want to go play this, then play this, and then board sweep, and then I'm left with nothing else. So just this alone, each turn, gaining life, putting 2 counters on it matters. It becomes problematic real quick. It hits you for 3 first time, then hits you for 4, now you're hitting for 5, and then 6, and so on and so forth. It can get pretty bad. Anyway, why don't we look at the deck? I'll break it apart for you. I have, let me see, lands. Yes, everybody has lands. You're right, Jim. Everybody must play lands in their commander decks. Duh. Anyway, yes, I have lands. I don't know how many I have. So this is a path to discovery for both of us, or all of us, I should say. I think I generally put 30 lands plus or minus, depending on the CMC of the deck, meaning how much it costs me to play things. Now, CMC is important. I would say to you that the more competitive decks have a lower CMC cost, and to me that's what distinguishes CEDH decks versus decks that are not CEDH, right? What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 23 there, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 lands. Okay, 31 lands. 4 fetches because I have land tax in here and scroll rack, and you want a way to shuffle your library. Then Plains, whatever Plains floats your boat. Shrine to Nyx, because Devotion to White is real in this deck, and that can generate a bunch of mana for you. This is kind of like Maze of Ith, except it gives you mana, and it prevents all combat damage that will be dealt by target attacking creature this turn. You can also target your opponents. creatures. So if one of your opponents is attacking another opponent, and you don't want that opponent to die necessarily, you can save them. But make sure you get a deal for yourself if you're going to save their life. Mistfield Plains allows me to recycle cards from my yard into my library. This allows me to make tokens. Castle Ardenvale. Now, let's look at... what's next? I think enchantments. Here, let's spread out this. We got enchantments, spells, and creatures, right? Creature. Spell, creature, enchantment. Creature, spell, enchantment, creature, enchantment. That's probably annoying. Artifact, enchantment. Now, I have a bunch of enchantments in here for one of two reasons. A, they're effective and they're doing something for me. And B, they give me access to devotion. Because devotion is important. Oops, that's a creature. We want that over there. There's our win con. Manas, creatures. I'll go over and talk about these cards in a second. Artifact. There's the win cons right there. So again, you can build the deck to go towards those two as fast as you can, and there's certainly ways to speed it up. There's artifacts that tutor for creatures. There's all kinds of things that can help you try to get there. I didn't put all of them in the deck because I wanted to be a little bit more diversified and less sort of focused on solely getting to a win con. Let's be honest. When you're this is considered an infinite loop. When you're playing win cons that have infinite loops in it, people tend to get a bit disgruntled or discouraged, I would say. Let me fix my camera. I don't like my angle. There we go. Boom. How about that? Did I knock that during my little spiel? Anyways, so my point is people get annoyed or discouraged by infinite combos. They don't bother me so much because to me, it's okay, let's shuffle up and move to the next game. The only thing I would say is a rule that every playgroup should have, that you should be coming to your playgroups with multiple decks. Now, that's not always the case, and if you can't, that's fine. I would say if you can't and you're sitting at the table with me, I always have plenty. Here, borrow one of mine. But if you win, so the rule is if you win with a deck, you should move it along. Put it away, get the next deck out and play. That way people don't get overly discouraged by what you're doing. All right, let's look at, this is also a win condition. You'll notice, I've noticed playing this deck that I've gained tons of life. I've been plus 50. I was at 51 last night. So, this is, it says pay, forget the whenever you cast the spell part. This is, you're not abusing that part of this. This is on the field to say when you get 50, you hold this in your hand, and when you're at 50 life or more than, you play this, resolve it, and then eliminate one of your opponents, right? Because you can do 50 points of damage. So that's sort of a win condition there as well. The Sensei's top filters my the top of my deck, which is fairly important. Mana Rock Scrolled Rack, because this works amazing with land tax. Tax gets you 3 cards to put into your hand, and you can put them into your deck with Scroll Rack to draw deeper. You can also, if you have one of these, you can shuffle now. So put a bunch of cards you don't need and shuffle them up. Codex Shredder to return things from my yard. The Ozolith. Now this little bad boy, I have tons of counters that go on my creatures. So this saves those counters. When my creatures get removed and they move zones, those counters that were on them get to be put on the Ozolith. Anybody playing Arena right now has seen this card. And if not, this protects counters. If you're playing a deck with counters matters type thing, so you're putting counters on creatures and whatnot, this is something you should consider. Anyways, when they get removed, it goes on here, and then next attack phase, I think was to say, at the beginning of combat on your turn. So at the beginning of combat, I get to put all those counters on a creature. So this is good. Chrome Mox for more mana, Soul Ring for mana, Mana Vault for mana, Well of Lost Dreams, because you know everybody cries about white not having good draw effects. This is a draw effect in white. I moved my finger so you can see it. Mana Crypt for mana, Mox Opal for mana. These are obviously important to be able to ramp Heliod out very quickly. What I have 6, 7 of them. Those are my artifacts, not many. Instants or sorceries, not many there either. You saw this one protects this either gets rid of a permanent or protects one of mine. Teferi's protection protects me in general. I can't tell you how many times I've won the game with this because my opponent goes for an infinite combo or whatnot to win, and then you know, looks at everybody, goes, okay, Teferi, or not Teferi, Kiki-Jiki, Zell's Conscripts. I win. I say I have a response. Teferi's protection. Come back. Well, I got to try to win in my next turn, but silence, because this is great to play before you go for your win con. Enlightened Tutor to tutor your win con. Generous Gift to get rid of a permanent Beast Within from green in white. And Swords to Plowshares to remove a creature. I got the shiny one. So those are the creatures. Now I have a bunch of enchantments here. And there's a few, right? Like there's more than 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And you might be saying, oh, 14 enchantments in the deck is just way too many. It may be, but it helps me to turn on Heliod. It gives me devotion, and it does things like Grasp of Fate, exiles things off of my opponents. Duel's Heritage gives my creatures double strike. Oh man, you know, giving even Commander Esha double strike, and let's assume he or she has 2 counters on it. That's a 4. That's 8 points of damage. And if it's lifelink, if I give it lifelink, the first 4 is life, put a counter, and then it's 5. So it's 9 points of lifelink. This is amazing. Also, you can trigger when your opponents attack your other opponents. You can go, oh, I'll give that creature double strike. Ruined Halo to protect you from things that are bothering you. And it gives you 2 pips of Devotion, Smothering Tide, because if you don't know what this card does, then something's wrong. You're not playing Magic correctly. Go look it up. If you're playing white, put it in your deck. Nevermore, to give you, again, pips and devotion. And to say, this is mainly for commanders that I don't like. So if they're problematic for me, and I don't like them in play, I'll play Nevermore, naming whatever it is, and they can't cast it until they get rid of Nevermore. Oblivion Ring to get rid of things. Let's see. Land Tax, Italian version. Pay homage to my Italian wife. If you don't know what this card does, look it up. Authority of the Councils is a champ in this deck. Opponent's creatures come to play tapped, and I gain a life for each of their creatures. Prison Term. Again, pips, white pips, and I get to lock down a creature that I don't like. Dawn of Hope gives me tokens and quasi card draw. Don't kid yourself. You know, drawing cards off of this happens, but not to the efficiency of, let's say, a blue or whatever. Angelic Accord. I can't tell you how many times I had an army of angels, because every time I do 4 points or gain 4 points of life, I gain a 4/4 angel. This is fantastic. Or of Silence, because it's amazing. Cast Out is instant speed removal. And Seal of Cleansing, because it's a wonderful thing to have in play and just leave it there. So those are my enchantments for this deck. All right, next. Creatures. There's a whole slew of them. And outside of the win cons, this is basically, I want to put creatures and I want to try to win via combat damage. is the preferred way to play with this deck. Now, you can play any which way you like. You can add any creatures you like. I added these ones because they all do unique things. Like Commander Esha here has protection from creatures. It's great. Swing, she can block everything. Mangara because it's got lifelink and it draws you cards, kinda. Look it up. Actually, I'll hold it up for you. There you go. Let's see. There you go. So, Ranger of Eos tutors my Wincon, Knight of the White Orchid, ramps me. It's a first strike creature. Baneslayer Angel because 5/5 flying thingy. That's amazing. It's got pro dragons and demons, which is relevant. Auriok Champion. It's got pro red and black. And every time a creature comes into play anywhere, gain a life. Resplendent Angel because it flies and makes angel tokens and gets bigger and then gets lifelink. Pentarch Paladin because I've always wanted to play this card but never had a deck to play it in because it's got 3 white pips. So basically, forget the flanking business end of it. When this comes into play, choose a color and then for 2 white and tap, destroy a permanent of its chosen color. It's removal. Awesome. Linden, Steadfast Queen, because if you haven't played with this and Heliod at the same time, you are missing out on life. Just play it. A Grand Abolisher, so no one plays interaction on your turns. Healer's Hawk, because Kaka, a 1/1 flying lifelink. Yeah, for 1. I'll take that. Eating Half-Tails to protect my board state. And 2 white pips. Transcendent Master, we talked about him. Benelish Marshal, it's an Anthem and 3 white pips. Gisela, the Broken Blade, because for 4 mana you get a 4/3 flyer with first strike and lifelink. This thing is fantastic. I didn't include the other half of this in the deck. I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But I didn't because I don't need that. What I need is flying first strike lifelink for 4 mana. Daxos, because he's 2 white pips and gains you life every time a creature comes in and out of play. Soul Mender, because tap for 1 life and put counters on things. Hushbringer to turn off ETB effects. Flying lifelink, why not? Soul's Attendant, because one of the Soul Sisters gain a life of a creature. Sarah Ascendant, because I love to be that guy on turn 1 that plays a Sarah Ascendant and says pass, and everybody's moaning and groaning because you have a 6/6 flying lifelink that gets bigger with Heliod. This is in Commander. Should be errated to like can't play until after turn 3. Cavalier of Dawn, because this is a removal spell and 3 white pips. Eternal Dragon, because this also plane cycles, so it gets me my land out of my deck. Speaker of the Heavens, because it makes tokens, angel tokens. This condition of life, but it's got Vigilance and Lifelink itself. Recruiter of the Guard, because it gets me my Wincon, it tutors for it. Sublight Archangel, because it's flying and all my creatures get exalted. And then I give a creature lifelink on top of that. It's gross. Angel of Jubilation, flying 3/3. Other non-black creatures I control get +1/+1. So an Anthem, 3 white pips. And players can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. I can't tell you how many times this was on board and had to remind people that you can't sacrifice that creature for XYZ. You can't pay life for XYZ. Fantastic. Lyra Dawnbringer, because the boss of all angels. Like, look at that. That's disgusting. Aerial Responder, flyer with lifelink, vigilance as well. Why not? You know, flying, vigilance, and lifelink. Let's toss this in the deck. The other half, the Soul Sister, Soul Warden. Wall of Reverence, because I gain life every turn. Linvala to shut off activated abilities. It's also a 3/4 flyer. It's not bad. Keeper the Accord. Why did I put this one in? At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player controls. If that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier token. Okay, that's awesome. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more lands than you, this is why I include it. You may search your library for basic planes. So I'm playing all planes. Well, mostly all planes. Card and put it into battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Awesome. So if people have more lands than me, I get to go get lands. That's why I put this in here. And finally, Archangel of Thune. Because this little angel has lifelink, and every time you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on all your creatures. So I'm gonna wrap that up because it's getting long in the tooth on this video. That's my Heliod deck. I have tons of fun with it. He punches hard and he can win in a pinch if I need to. So if the game's going long and I need to just go for my win con and resolve it and win, then I can do so. But mainly I like to play creatures and come across the table for big punches. That makes me happy. And that's why I like mono green so much. And I'll do a mono green video eventually. But that's my Heliod. I hope you enjoyed that. Go out there, get yourself a copy, and build yourself a Heliod deck. It's fun. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.